Apocalypse Diary, Day 3. Status update. Electricity, water, still on. Still got plenty of food, still got plenty of drink. Still got internet. Doing good. So for today's ramble, I'm going to talk about anime, because I just finished one, and I'm currently in the process of watching another. And to make this a little more interesting, I guess, I'm going to try to explain Ergo Proxy, because that's the anime that I just finished watching last night, and whoo boy, it is right up there with Neon Genesis Evangelion and Fooly Cooly in those animes that are truly great, but even after I finish the whole thing, I still don't entirely understand what it is I just watched. So, okay, to try and explain Ergo Proxy, I'm going to focus mainly on the two main characters, and I'm still going to need to write out a friggin' flowchart to understand what the hell I'm talking about. So, I'm going to set you right about here-ish. Don't fall down. Don't fall down. Okay. Alright, stay there, because I got some writing to do. Alright, so, two main characters. We got Vincent Law and Riel Mayer. Alright. Circle those two. Alright, so, Riel. Damn it. Alright, so that's clearly not a good place to set the iPad. Awesome. Maybe here-ish? Ish? Balls. Right there? Right there is good? Okay, so. Alright, so Riel Mayer lives in the domed city of Romdo. Works as an investigator who investigates these things called auto-reeves. And they're basically sentient-ish AIs / robot people that are used as like laborers and companions and, you know, all the things people would use robots for. So she investigates these things because the auto-reeves have been getting infected with the thing called the Cogito virus, which essentially turns them full sentient and makes them start asking questions like, you know, who am I? Why am I here? Do I have a soul? You know, all those scary things that AIs tend to write. Alright, so there's Riel Mayer. So Vincent Law is an immigrant from outside of Romdo who's trying to gain citizenship in Romdo. Citizenship inside of Romdo, which causes him to meet Riel Mayer. Okay, so Riel ends up getting attacked by this evil, awful monster thing, which we find out is called a proxy. And she finds evidence that Vincent was present at this attack, even though she didn't see him. So she starts investigating Vincent. So it turns out that Vincent, yes, is in fact a proxy, and he is a proxy known as the Ergo Proxy, who is basically Vincent's split personality, who awakens sometimes like when he's in danger or when he comes into close contact with other proxies. So Riel starts tracking down and investigating Vincent. Vincent ends up falling in love with Riel, which I'll get to later. So that leads them to the outside world where they find the remains of Earth, which had been destroyed, I don't know, X amount of years ago. Long fucking time ago is the point. So Vincent goes on the run. Riel starts investigating all the like the upper echelons of Romdo City and like the citizenry and shit. And she finds out that the upper echelons of Ramdo, the domed city, know about the proxies and have been keeping them under wraps for various conspiracy theory reasons. So eventually Riel and Vincent end up teaming up together and investigating the remains of the old world to find out what exactly happened, why the world got destroyed, why proxies are a thing, to figure out everything that's going on. So, throughout their investigation, she finds out that Vincent is in fact a proxy. He's the Ergo proxy. But the thing is, the Ergo proxy is actually a copy of Proxy 1, the first proxy. Sorry, I'm writing to keep track of all this shit. Copy of Proxy 1 is the Vincent and the Ergo proxy. So, they find out that the proxies they're basically gods. They're indestructible. They all have crazy superpowers and shit. So the proxies were built to basically make sure that the world, like the physical planet, survived the destruction of the human race. Okay, so Proxy 1 copied himself and made Ergo Proxy because the only thing that can really kill proxies is apparently ultraviolet light from the sun? Okay, so the proxies were created with the built-in weakness to sunlight because the proxies, since they were made to survive the end of the world, and they were supposed to rebuild various cities and basically restart the human race after the destruction of the world. So, they also made the Cogito virus, which is going around and infecting all of the artificial servants and shit. So basically, the proxies are these god/creator beings who were supposed to rebuild the human race and then die off afterwards. So Vincent, Ergo Proxy, he created Ramdo. Yeah, he built Ramdo. That was his city. But then, he had to deal with the fact that he was supposed to die afterwards. He didn't want to do that. So, to cope with this, he created the alternate persona of Vincent Law to basically go fuck off and live as a normal human. That all went to shit when he went back to Ramdo, the city that he specifically created, and then he met Riel Mayer, who Riel is a copy of Monad Proxy. Fuck, where am I gonna fit this shit? There we go. Okay, so Monad Proxy was actually the lover of Ergo Proxy, who was the copy of Proxy 1, and after she was captured and detained and left for dead, that's one of the other reasons that Ergo Proxy made the split personality of Vincent Law so he could forget about her and move on with his life, but then Vincent met Riel, who was a copy of Monad Proxy, which reawakened his proxy side of Ergo Proxy, which kicked off the entire chain of events, which eventually leads them to destroying Ramdo, killing Proxy 1, and then essentially bringing back the human race, because a bunch of the human race had left and was living in a ship up in orbit to wait out the whole apocalypse until the proxies, the god creators, went and made the Earth semi-habitable again by building all the domed cities. So then, once the cities were destroyed, Proxy 1 was killed. The only proxy left were a couple that Vincent and Riel decided to leave alone, because every time a proxy meets, they have to fight, unless they're lovers, like Ergo Proxy and Monad Proxy. So there's so everything goes to shit. Ramdo gets destroyed at the end of the show. Riel's left, Vincent is left, Ergo Proxy's left, and like 2 other proxies that they decided to leave alone because they weren't doing any bad shit. Okay, you got all that? You got all of that bullshit? Alright, you got that in your head? Alright. Well, good, because that's less than 1/10 of what actually is the gobbledygook that is Ergo Proxy. It's actually a really, really good show, but it's just so heavy on, like, the subtle messages and the symbolism with, like, the proxies supposed to be being gods, and them trying to help humans while also hating humans because the created will always drive the creator to the edge of despair, despite the fact that the creator can't help but love the creator. Oh my god, it's a mind bender. But it's all on Hulu, so if you have Hulu, I highly recommend you go watch it. Okay, that's my attempted explanation of Ergo Proxy out of the way. So the other anime I've been watching, much simpler in concept, still really good though. It's an anime called The Wise Man's Grandchild, and it's about this character named Shin, who is the wise man's grandchild. So Shin lives in a world where, magic is a thing. So the driving force behind Shin being the overpowered anime protagonist that he is, which he is overpowered, the protagonist being overpowered in some ways, a very common thing in anime. But they handled this one really, really well. So apparently the way the universe works is that people who live on Earth, like our Earth, when they... Whoops, there goes my pencil. When they die, their soul crosses over into this other world to begin life again as a new person in this different realm. So, by some fluke or plot device that has not been explained yet, Shin retained like 99% of his memories from his past life, and that has an effect on how he does his magic. So, the more you understand the way magic works, the more powerful you can make your magic. So, like, this new universe he's in is not very technologically advanced. They went more the magic route, and they're a little bit further along than, like, medieval times, but they still don't have things like cars or airplanes or, things like that. They don't have guns. They're still operating, with swords and stuff like that. Okay, so, like, for example, since Shin retains all of his memories, he died as an adult on Earth, so he went, like, all the way through high school, and I think he had some college education before he was killed in, like, his early to mid-20s. So, like, okay, for example, like, his fire spell is really powerful, because, like, no one really understands how fire works in this new universe. They just kind of know that, like, heat can light things on fire. Like, even Shin's granddad, Merlin, like, not that Merlin, but yes, kind of that, like, take King Arthur out of the equation, and this Merlin he's just one of the most powerful sorcerers in the world. Even he doesn't understand how fire works. He's just like, okay, like, heat makes things go, fire. But Shin understands, like, the intricate science of how fire works because, he studied that kind of shit in high school. So he's like, okay, so I know that, like, combustible material plus heat plus hydrogen and oxygen produces flame. So when he casts a fire spell, he, like, gathers up a bunch of hydrogen from the atmosphere, infuses it with oxygen, and then sets it on fire. So his fire, because he understands all the mechanics and shit, is more powerful than, like, a normal person's fire spell. And he applies this to, like, everything. Like, he has a teleportation spell that he can do because he understands, like, basic physics. So he understands that if you bend space and cause two things to inhabit the same space simultaneously, like, he straight up did the example from that horror movie Event Horizon, where Dr. Grant from Jurassic Park takes the piece of paper, folds it in half, and punches a hole through both sides of paper, and then, unfolds the papers, like space occupies the same, like 2 points occupy the same place in space, the ship passes through, space unfolds again, returns to normal. And that's, like, the bare basics physics knowledge of somebody who's had like a high school education, and the people in this other world were like, what the fuck, how did you do that? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. So basically, everybody else in this fantasy world are like on their first playthrough of life, and Shin is so powerful because he's basically on New Game Plus. It's pretty friggin' dope. There's also some very, very concise writing that I like. Like, they don't spend too terribly much time on any one plot point, because I think the series is only like 12 episodes long. I don't know if they're working on a season 2 or not, but like, so Shin meets his love interest. They have a bit where they don't know what to do. They fall in love. Shin asks her out. She says yes. End of story. They're together now. So the main villain is trying to overthrow this other empire, and it's like, okay, well, why is he trying to do that? It's because the empire, this one empire, like, treated their commoners like shit. They had slavery. This guy was a very nice guy who was like trying to undo all that. Like, he treated his commoners very, very well. They loved him, but that was bad for the economy because their economy is based on slavery. So the nobility turns on him, frames him for murder. He gets lynched, essentially goes insane and becomes a mass murderer, and overthrows this empire. So he's sitting on the throne now, and he's like, well, cool beans. I did my job. I overthrew my empire. And like, all of his evil servants is like, well, what are you going to do next? And he's like, I don't need to do anything next. I did what I set out to do. I'm good. Fuck off. Go do what you want. And then his minions go fuck off and do what they want, and he just kind of washes his hands of the situation. It's very cool. The show moves along at a very, very concise, speedy, but not overly speedy clip. It's very refreshing to, like, see the show not get bogged down with, like, oh, these two have, like, unrequited love interests, and they don't know what to do, and there's this whole back and forth thing that lasts, like, 100 episodes, like Inuyasha. Nope. That whole thing was essentially resolved in, like, 5 episodes. It's really cool. It's really cool. It's called The Wise Man's Grandchild. It's on Hulu, along with Ergo Proxy. They're both very good animes. Highly recommend watching them if you're stuck in quarantine like I am. And that'll about wrap this episode. So, once again, thank you for listening to my ramble. See you tomorrow.